This is Mark Shmurley, the host of Living in the Promised Land, an immigrant rights podcast. And I wanted to just do this quick update. There was a pretty major case last night that affects a lot of people, and that's the Haitian population in the United States. And if you remember from episode 6, where we where I went to Springfield, Ohio, and interviewed Viles Dorsonville, the head of the Haitian Community Center. And we talked about temporary protected status, and we talked about the precarious nature of that. So let me just give a quick rundown of what temporary protected status is. This is something that was passed in the 1990 an immigration bill that was passed then, and it allows the president, empowers the president to protect people from a country who are in the United States already, so they can't come after the president makes this designation of temporary protected status, but it allows the president to have people stay in the United States if there's a natural disaster, political upheaval, war. In one case of Montserrat, I think that's the only case, there was a volcano eruption, and it's a small country, small island. Because the idea is that it's not safe for people to go back. And so oftentimes, this is the thing with temporary protected status, is that it's granted and then people stay here because they're allowed to be here with authorization. They're allowed to work. They're allowed to just live their lives here. And it gets into a pattern where the community that's already here, so it's a fixed amount, nobody new can come. Nobody new can come under that program if they weren't already here. So it's a fixed group of people. And they may have children, they may have, that are in the United States that are born here, and they live their lives. And often it takes many years for the country to be safe. And sometimes there is a designation that is the designations are reversed, and often it takes a while for that to happen. And there's a preparation for that to happen, in part because if a country is getting back, quote, on its feet, to absorb a huge amount of people to come back is one thing. And also the folks that are here often send money back. And I remember, to the country, and they float the country also while also paying taxes in the United States, et cetera. So it's often a small population. And it's generally from smaller countries. And in this case, in 2010 in Haiti, there was a devastating earthquake. It severely damaged even the presidential palace. Many people died. People couldn't, food supplies were gone. People were starving. People fled. And so President Obama made the designation for Haitians that were in the United States to be protected from leaving. And that got renewed, all the different years. And when President Trump came in last time, he tried to end it, and a federal judge said, "Well, you called." It's actually in the language of the judge's decision, where the president called Haiti a shithole country and other denigrating, racist comments. And the judge said, "No, while the president has the power to end temporary protected status, they can't do it based on racism. They have to at least consult with the State Department. Uh, there has to be some basis in reality." So fast forward, the Trump administration appealed that case, and when the Biden administration came in, they withdrew the appeal. So temporary protected status kept going. So fast forward to today, every TPS designation has been they're attempting to rescind or revert, to rescind them all. So in the case of Haiti, Haiti right now is in tremendous violence. I don't think there are even flights going into Haiti. There weren't last I checked. The U.S. State Department, Secretary of State Rubio has talked about the danger of going back, has said it's dangerous, has said it's not safe yet. But which really is the criterion that's supposed to be used. Now, again, they don't have the highest burden there, but Christy Nome used some horrific language in and basically said, "We don't want them here. They're unvetted. They're et cetera. They are we don't want them here." And one, they're a drain on the economy, which in this case, Judge Reyes said, actually, no, they're contributing to the economy. That was their last point. And they said, well, you can't get criminal records out of Haiti, so they all might be criminals. Well, many might be criminals. Not they all, but many might be criminals, and there's a danger. So again, creating this fear, but there's no data to show crimes in the community, and there's no data kept on that. So you can just throw it out there. And also that the president has absolute power and, no judge can second guess the president, et cetera. So, and essentially the feeling, that we've heard from and one of the countries is Somalia also, but, we've heard the president say these are garbage countries, they're garbage people. We've seen what he's done in Minneapolis, which is an attack on a refugee community there. And we know from talking to Village Dorsenville how um, much the Haitian community has uh, been somewhat in fear in Columbus, but also there's allies that have been with them. And we know directly I mean, not Columbus, in Springfield, we know directly that Vice President Vance stoked those flames last year and then left and, created a climate of fear, and that's what they want. So before the Judge Reyes issued this decision, temporary protected status was due to expire tomorrow. And ICE was geared up around Springfield to pick up and detain and try to deport um, probably hundreds, thousands in that community. And we talked about, we talked about it in different ways. We talked about it with um, in our interview the other day with Mr. Gong from the 1882 Foundation. We talked about with Village Dorsenville. The goal of white supremacists, the goal is to, just like it was with Chinese exclusion, just like it is with Haitians now, is to not allow an immigrant community, Black, brown people, to remain in a community for a second generation where they can become more permanent. And so, in the case of, we know that 1/3 of Springfield, Ohio is Haitian. We know, the economic impact, we know the social impact, we know the cultural impact, and we know that they're teetering on the edge. Been here about, 15 years now of having a next generation. And once you have a next generation coming in, then it's really difficult to get rid of communities. And so, this is a theme throughout of communities that grow and thrive with immigrants throughout history, obviously, and white supremacists attempting to keep what is, considered in different ways racial purity. And just no surprise that, around the turn of the century was when really this became uh, a movement that was articulated in courts and Congress and all around. Well, now it certainly is a movement, shocking and crude, but uh, the so this is important that there is a stay. So what Judge Reyes did is she said, no, while there's the lawsuit against the ending of it, there's a lawsuit that says you can't end it on racist grounds. You can't do that. It's the same lawsuit that they won in the first term, that the community won in the first term. of Trump. And then Trump appealed, and he appealed to the circuit court. And now I think they're talking about doing a direct appeal to the Supreme Court. They said, Supreme Court, here we come, was what Trina McLaughlin, the spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, was saying is, yeah, we're going to fight it all the way up. And, it'll be interesting. It'll get to the Supreme Court. Who knows? So it's certainly a win, but you hear from the community, people can't live like this where you have a win at the last minute because you're talking about families. So in the community, people were getting passports for their kids that were born here and then making plans for them to stay if they got deported to Haiti. Um, creating fear, creating stress, creating really terror. This is terrorizing. It's psychological terror. Um, And it's also endangering them because when you use inflammatory language like that, you invite violence, you invite citizen violence people, against people in the community. And thankfully, so many are on the streets, so many people are out there. I mean, essentially, judges can do things, lawyers can fight, we can do our part, but we need communities to do like they've done, like we've seen in Minneapolis and other places, is communities around the country have got to say no, no, not, oh, this is too far and it's a constitutional violation and we're going to go back to some old normal because the old normal was also once, a few steps away from this and it did not give the permanent guarantee. We need folks to say, look, if people are coming to our community and they are here and this is how people think. I think in terms of the law because oh, well, but yeah, but you need to go through this process and you get Democrats especially, they want this when it becomes legalization for people, like this long arcane process that is just terrible often, to get a green card. But people say, what, stop it. I don't care. Most people don't care about the legal status of their neighbor. They care that it's their neighbor. Most people don't care about the legal status of their classmates. It's their classmate. And most people don't care about the legal status of their pastor, of their fellow congregant, their fellow student. Now they throw, criminal stuff out there, and it's like, look, I don't want to be hanging out around somebody who's causing violence and abusing people and uh, is doing that. And you know what? I don't care what their status is. I don't want around them. Red herring. We talked about that. So I think this is a great victory, and we'll go forward. And this is a great victory, and we'll see. What this does. It's not. I think people don't want to see what the administration is doing, and just keep fighting for a diverse country of people from all over the world, and you know, oppose this white supremacy.